this is the biggest impact to our business in the shortest amount of time of anything we've ever done. The time, effort, and the money that you saved us in the way that this works, I am indebted to Filippo. He has taken my idea out of my fever brain and helped me turn that into something faster than any project I've ever had to work on. And our factory's been around a long time. So this is the biggest impact to our business in the shortest amount of time of anything we've ever done. My background is in manufacturing. So what we're using your software for is we're actually running a manufacturing plant. But as a core, right, as your software sits, it does what it needs to do. So I scan his gun and it says this employee just logged in. Just that simple. It scans, it sees the numbers 804, it knows an 800 number is an employee, it knows that employee just scanned in. That's how we've tricked the software into doing a whole lot of heavy lifting by just the first number telling it what the task or action is. That's been working flawlessly.
Well,
or it could say, how many things did you make today? He can scan, I'm making a part. The press then opens and he scans it again. I've made the part, and it pops up and says, well, how many actual parts did you make? How many were good and how many were bad? As this populates my database, I can then put flags that say, if part bad equals greater than 2, phone call equals I'm chewing your ass. And I automatically know to pick up the phone and say, hey, you're making a bunch of bad parts. What's going on? So this thing can actually run all of the troubleshooting that you would need before something becomes, you wasted 3,000 pounds of stock. I now know ahead of time, hey, you changed this thing and everything's going bad. Go back to where you were. And we're tracking all that too. So part of this was working with Filippo and figuring out where the limitations were, and his software and the way that he's presented it made that whole process so easy, understandable. And I went through the whole website at the very beginning. What I thought was going to be a simple, I'm going to get a number and I'm going to do a bunch of work, became I'm going to scan a number and all the work's done. That's how powerful this thing is. I mean, you guys have no idea the actual power that it's not just, you're at Walmart and you scan a barcode and it says this thing's $4. There's so much more that because you're able to plug into that and do stuff with it, it can do so much more than just scan a barcode and look up a price. We're way past that with your software. I did a training session, one training session with my employees. I literally took it to my employees. I trained them on the spot with a bunch of barcodes all printed out, how this thing should work. And I walked them through the logic, which is simple. When you get here in the morning, scan your employee number. They went, oh, that makes sense. Yes, when you go to check in stock, scan the sticker that says stock. Oh, that makes sense. When you pull stock out to make something, scan it. Oh, that makes sense. And it's going to ask you how many pounds of stock, because I want to know what's in production. And they're like, oh, yeah, it pops right up and says how many? 8 pounds. You just put an 8 and enter. And it was so intuitive. It went into production from one meeting of me showing them probably an hour worth of, this is how the gun works. These are the questions it's going to ask. And I'm going to put these numbers up. And it's been in production since day one. And I've never worked with somebody that's been able to just understand your idea, make it live in front of you, test it, and then hand it off like that. That doesn't happen. But it's not just the machine that we're barcoding. We barcoded the building. So if the employee takes out the trash, I can bill his time to the building so I know where the cost is of my labor. So you barcode it. I was going to barcode the bathroom, but my employees thought that was a little and I was going to barcode it with a 1 or 2 below it, but because I'm a funny guy. When they go to the bathroom, they say, is it a 1 or a 2? It's a 1. Well, you got 3 minutes. But you also want to know if a specific machine is breaking down or not functioning before it breaks down, right? So if I see that press W4, for instance, it's constantly having to have the temperature adjusted, which is one of the things we coded in there. If it's having to have the temperature adjusted every time they use it, well, I might have a bad heater in there. Why are they having to adjust the temperature all the time?
Yeah.
And so from a diagnostic standpoint, it's going to tell me things that I would never get from an employee.
Yeah, it's
The
like
employee's just not going to think it. They're not going to think, well, it took me 6 minutes this time to do the job and 9 minutes the next time. He's never going to think of those numbers, but we will, because the software is now telling me. So that the power of that is there's no price you can put on it. It was this simple. I'm using paper. I'm relying on employees to fill out a form at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And we discovered that our employees were filling out daily forms of what got done on a particular day at the end of the week. So the data was completely. And then I said, couldn't we do something like this with a handheld PC? And then the questions started from there. And then the boss comes in my office one day and says, could we just do a barcode like at Walmart? And my brain went, oh yeah, that makes sense. And I did a web search. And because of the way you guys laid it out, I did, well, how do you get a barcode saved to a PC? And bam, your software came up. And from the second I started reading about it, the more I read, the more excited I got that I could make this work. I could shoehorn this into something. Did not understand that the second I talked to Filippo, that my idea of this little thing that I was going to get me a number became an entire turnkey solution. Because that's really what this is. It is a turnkey solution, and you guys should push that more, because the time, effort, and the money that you saved us in the way that this works, right? I don't want to say this too loudly, but your software is too cheap.
So, Patrick, for your company, you were saying that the ROI is on the 6 figures range. Is it right?
Yeah, easily.
So let me see if I got this correct. Basically, by implementing this software, so by implementing Barcode to PC, you're expecting an incremental growth of around 6 figures only by changing the software.
Yes, yes, wow. A savings across the board. Even if I just broke it down to individual things like maintenance, it's probably going to make a $20,000 difference in my maintenance this year, because I'm going to be able to target that maintenance. I'm going to be able to preventively go and do things that would have cost me a lot more later. So yes, by using it in a way that it's informing me of what's going on, then I can make decisions that are going to save money. And yes, easily.
Okay. And what would you say to someone who is scared to make this transition and is still using paper?
Tell them to go to any Walmart.
Walmart?
Tell them to go to any Walmart.
Okay, why?
Ask any Walmart. Go to any Home Depot, any Lowe's, any Walmart. Tell them to go to any store and ask an employee where something is or how much something costs, and see what that employee does. You know what that employee is going to do? They're going to whip out their smartphone that has a barcode reader on it. They're going to scan the stupid thing right in front of you, and then your brain's going to go, oh, that's a barcode. It's industry standard. You guys are tapping into something that's industry standard, and you're using it as a tool to get it into data. Error aspect out. And that's really what makes this thing shine, is the barcode takes the human error part of this completely away.